So first of all, how is everybody doing since our last session? We covered a lot of material last time. So those who were with us, can you give us some feedback? Is your mind blown? Are you overwhelmed? Are you still excited? Tell me give me your temperature on this right
I'm actually kind of excited. A little. It was a lot of information, but I was able to regurgitate it, and
now.
so I'm feeling ready for the next three boot camps.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Well,
No?
I'm excited about realizing and picking up on what I may have missed since I was unable to participate in the first segment. So periodically, I guess you will be referring to some of the subject matters that you discussed initially or originally.
Yeah, so you have access to the recording and the PowerPoint from last session.
Okay.
And you're welcome to schedule a one-on-one appointment with me. So don't feel like you have to memorize everything. You can have a one-on-one to kind of go over stuff.
Okay.
I'll drop those links as well, Dr. Walker.
Yeah, perfect. So we did managing a startup. A lot of information. We went deep with a lot of stuff. So it was excellent interaction you guys had. And so tonight we're moving on to strategy and brand. This is another big topic. It stretched me to try to squeeze it into an hour. This is usually a topic I teach at minimum 2 to 4 hours, maybe over the course of a semester. Thank you for challenging me to simplify it to its core concept. So everybody has can grasp the concept. And so feel free to ask questions as we go through it. But we should have a good time tonight. And just a reminder, next week we will session 3 and 4 all about managing for growth. Because last time we talked about startup, now we're talking about strategy. Now next week we're gonna talk about growth. And then as well, we're gonna end on talking about the money and the impact of COVID and how we navigate that. All right. So a little gentle reminder, if you need to email me, you're welcome to do so with any questions or requests for additional information. I will dig in my archives to see if I have anything that will meet your needs. So don't be shy. If you need something, let us know. Also, you can schedule your one-on-one sessions with the link. I know all this was emailed out to you, but just letting you know it's available. And all the documents that I refer to as external documents, they're in a box folder externally. And so the link is provided. And I have some additional documents from this session that I'll be adding to the folder. And lastly, shameless plugs are welcome. So please share your business name, contact, website, social media in the chat. And I encourage everybody to visit, check everybody else's business. If you can do business with one another, that's great. I do check out the websites and, consider purchasing as well. So let's make this happen. Let's share our information. Okay. Now, before we get into it, I gave everybody homework last time. So I can't remember how many people have returned from Tuesday, but there's at least 10 of you that I can recall. And so here's the thing. Have you figured out what's your reasoning for starting a business? And for those of you who are new with us, we opened up last Tuesday's discussion about talking about why people start businesses, because that initial reason drives a lot of your decision making. So the 4 major groups, and there's various ways that some authors have described this, but this is one of the best ways I've seen. You have the passionate creators who started out of love. They're all about the passion of the business. And so running a business is a sense of accomplishment. You have the freedom seekers, and they're the ones who want our control of their destiny, so to speak. Want to be in charge of their schedules, their working environment, the people that interact, the career paths, etc. Number 3 is your legacy builders. So they have a burning desire to start something new, do something different. and or many times they want to build a legacy for their family, whether it's generating wealth that they can pass down. And many times they also want to do something that gives back to the community. So those are your legacy builders. And then number 4 was the struggling survivor who started a business out of some financial need. And sometimes there's deep-rooted fears as a result. So they're kind of pushed into starting a business, not necessarily having all the luxuries that maybe some other people have and making that choice. So those are the 4 types. I admitted last time my type, I am a legacy builder. So that heavily influences my decisions. So I have to watch my ego as a result. So for those of you and for new folks, as you're looking at these slides, let's open up the discussion. Have we determined our reason for starting a business? I know some of you were toying between more than one choice. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go. Mine's a mixture of it.
There we go with the mixture.
Yeah, I think the business is a valuable asset to me. It would enhance the quality of my life and my daughter's life and also the community. And building an enterprise with potential, it'll allow me growth and put money in my pocket.
Yeah, but what's the reason? What's the core reason?
To set my own hours, work when I want to work.
So you're a freedom seeker.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also
See,
a legacy builder for my daughters as well.
see, I need to be okay. I'm a challenge. By the end of the boot camp, you're gonna pick one.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm being so heavy-handed on this is because in business, you have to make decisions. And you can't be in both buckets. And many times you can't be in 2 buckets. And we freeze because we want to do it all. And so if we find ourselves challenged on this very question, you're gonna have a very hard time for the longevity that you own the business. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just making you aware of the challenge, because I think this is the #1 challenge entrepreneurs have, and equally so with women, because of the way we think about problem solving. We do tend to be very discreet and picking up points from this area, points from that area, point, where men will just be like 1 and then that's it. And you'd be like, well, why? And they'd be like, it's 1, that's it. Okay. And so we got to train our minds to go about things a little bit differently. That's uncomfortable, but we'll see. You might prove me wrong and you might stick to your guns, and that's good too.
Thank you.
So anybody else?
Yes. So initially mine started out as a passionate creator because it's in that creative space. But at this point, what I'm looking to create is in the freedom seeker category. So that's going to be what the thing I set up next, or thing I'm working toward, is for the freedom seeker category.
Excellent. And so what you just illustrated to us is that when we sometimes, to make the decision, we have to separate our disciplines or the stuff we like to do to get to the core of the matter. So I think I recall you were the photographer, correct? Or no? Yeah, photographer, right? So, that naturally you would think you were in the creative box, but at the core of why you're setting the business is you want to have your own vehicle to do your photography. So that's a distinction that you nicely made. Great. Anybody else?
Yes. We have Nicole's hands raised. Nicole?
It's 2 of us, but I'll go. I'm sorry, other Nicole. Mine is freedom seekers. My whole personality is definitely a freedom seeker. So it's 110% freedom seeker.
Okay, wonderful.
And the
Anybody
other
else?
Nicole?
Hi. So originally I thought I was a passionate creator, but I realized it's really about legacy and what I kind of want to leave and give to others. So for me, it's legacy builder.
Oh, wonderful. Well, welcome to the team, Legacy. I'm Team Legacy.
Janet?
Hi again. So initially I put myself in all 3 buckets.
Yeah.
Like Tiffany, I'm a photographer, so I'm very passionate about being a creative.
Mhm.
But at the same time, as I start to think about, because I'm an engineer as well. I
Okay.
love what I do, but I'm not passionate about it.
Mhm.
Passionate about being a creative. But then
Mhm.
when I think about it, I'm like, so I think a lot of people probably may or may not have heard of the term FIRE, financial independence, retire early.
Mm.
That's where I am. I would
Okay.
like to retire. Well, I don't necessarily want to retire early per se, but I don't want to be dependent on my job. I want to have
Right.
something else that I'm passionate about, and then my current job could be like, my secondary.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm looking at my daughter as well. She's only 8, and I want to start putting that mindset in her head about
Mhm.
owning her own, you know what I mean? And be able
Mhm.
to establish what she wants to be and, what she wants to do at a younger age, so then she can be set as she.
Mhm.
So that's why I kind of put myself in the 3 buckets of passion, creator,
Mm.
freedom seeker, and legacy builder.
Hmm. Hmm.
And Cookie, I see your hand raised.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so I did do my portion of the homework as far
Mhm.
as being able to make a definitive decision of the 4 choices that you gave us. And
Mhm.
I am definitely a passionate creative. Because I do hair, or I'm a cosmetologist because I do more than hair. I
Mhm.
consider myself a day maker. So with that being said, my slogan on my business cards is, if you look good, you feel good. So I
Mhm.
feel like that's definitely my reason for wanting to, catapult that from behind the chair to actually implementing those same morals and values in my students.
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Very good. Again, no wrong answers, but interesting to see everybody's method of how they got to their answer. So very good. Okay.
Scarlett. Sorry, I see one more hand. Sorry, BP.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead. Yeah,
Yes.
this is great.
I wanted to bring an alternative to medication and complaining about aches and pains. So I'm a passionate creator. Next year I'll be, I'll say this, 70. And I know that yoga works for me. And I know that it does not belong to any group of people. And that's why I want to share it with my community. But I find even when you do it for free, you have a core group of people, but there's no commitment. So I thought that if I could build my business in a way that I would charge, so that people can see results and see the benefits of actually the meditation and the yoga part. So to me, I'm passionate about it. It helped me through the death of my daughter. I know that it works, but unless you give it a try, which is what I'm trying to get more exposure or figure out how to do that, I know that it works. So it works for me.
Yeah, I definitely have to try, because I need to look like you when I'm I'm gonna put it on the list. Let's be clear. But I think you brought up a really good point. So I'm glad you said you were doing things for free, right?
Right. Yes.
So the passionate creators, they got to be careful, because they're so in tune to what they're doing. There might be a tendency to give their product away for less than it actually is worth, because they just want the people to enjoy it. So
absolutely.
So each of these kind of mindsets has a benefit and a definite strength that you can use throughout your business, but also they each have their drawbacks, because you will make decisions from this root. Like I said last time, I'm a legacy builder, so I tend to want to do things that'll make a name. I tend to come up with the biggest idea, because it's got to be better than everybody else. And then I'm a Howard graduate, so you lay that on top. So I have to reel that back in, and sometimes in reality that you have to simplify. You got to slow go before you build, and actually build a legacy. So yes, so great answers. Anybody else want to add before we move on? Monica, anybody's hands raised? So I just.
She's about to speak now.
Okay, great.
So this exercise has challenged me because I always, for the longest, fell into the passionate creators category. I'm that guilty person. I'll give it away. I'll undermine it. But as I continue to progress in my, work as a social worker and being confined by all of the barriers and rules and all that stuff, I realized by this exercise that I am really a freedom seeker because I value autonomy. I value being able to create what I want to have. I have a vision and then create that and then operate that. It's kind of what, sets me off. So, being bound by, some hours on a clock or somebody else's tasks are so not attractive to me. And that's what I'm seeking. I'm seeking to be away from, the plantation, so to speak. So thank you for the exercise.
No problem. Great. And you bring up another point as well. As we think about our reasons, we also have to be mindful that your reason needs to get you up every morning to work on the business every day. And so there are a lot of passionate people who get burnt out because they turn the passion into a business, and the business is work. So, and it takes work every day. That people equate starting a business like having a child. Is very much the same. Very much the same. So be mindful of that as well. And then also as your life moves forward, your reasons may change. So be mindful of that. This is why some people are serial entrepreneurs. They like to get companies to a certain stage and then they sell. Because because then if it goes into another phase, they're locked down and they can't, sometimes they may lose control. They might have to sell for equity, take on ownership. It changes. There's no more fun for them. It's no more sense of achievement for them. So just be mindful of that as you move through your entrepreneurial career from this point on. So this is going to come up again when we get to the branding. Okay. So let's keep that in mind. So for right now, let's go on to today's discussion is about strategy. This is a big, big topic. And I like to start by first, let's just define what the business is. And you can see I shared this in the last presentation and I'll share this in every presentation. So even though I'm a physician and people think physicians are brilliant, and we kind of are sometimes, I have a small brain. I need things to be simple so I can wrap my head around it. And so I define a business as an operation, meaning it is a legally established entity, licensed, insured, and has an organizational structure and systems that provides a product and or service with the customer experience that solves a customer problem. And these set of customers, in exchange for that product, service, and or experience, they make a payment, and that business collects payment timely and efficiently. You would be surprised how many businesses that are running on the edge simply because they don't focus on the collection of the money. You think I'm joking, but it's the truth. So this is the framework I'm using when I say, let's talk about your business. This is the definition I'm using. And so that customer experience we talked about, it has to be valuable. And when we say value is what the customer can expect. It's the benefits that the business promises to the customer if they choose to buy or acquire the product and service along with the experience. So the value is not how great you think your product is. The value is how great the customer says it is because it solves their problem. And it's not just the product or the service, it's the entire experience of finding you, contacting you, buying the product, using the product, disposing of it when it's done, and then maybe coming back to buy again. That's the entire customer journey has to benefit them. And so when you think about it like that, it's a lot of moving parts, and you can see how some businesses can, get thrown off a little bit. Like the food is, how many of us know a restaurant, the food is great, but the service sucks. It's slow. They're not, they don't have great manners or whatever the case may be. That's all part of the experience. So there's a lot of little elements you have to focus on when you're running a business, but you do it one at a time. Okay. So if that's the business, that's the value it delivers. The business does not operate in a vacuum. So the other concept we have to recognize is that there's an internal and external environment that the business operates in. So the external environment is the market, customer forces, is the industry and competition, is the technology requirements or compliance factors, government regulations, cultural and social norms. These are all the things that are pushing on the business to say this is how you need or should operate. Okay. Now, if that's the external, you also have an internal environment. And this is where some of us complain a lot about our jobs because the internal environment is not that great. So the internal environment is the systems, the practices, the people, the culture, all the things that make the business work. That's the internal environment. And the factors in the internal environment can either be a strength or they can be weaknesses. Similarly, the external environment, they can be opportunities or they can be threats. So when you think about strategy, at the end of the day, one of the things you have to keep in mind that even though you have these external forces pushing on your business that might threaten your business or might be an opportunity, it is that same sort of forces that are the sources of new opportunities. So you have to be vigilant. You have to have a system where you're vigilant, constantly looking out for opportunities that match to your strengths so you could take advantage of them. And so this is just another element of the activities you have to oversee as the entrepreneur owner while you're actually working in the business. So while you're making the product, while you're doing sales, you also have to set aside time to regularly look at both environments and make decisions. Okay. Any questions so far?
We're good.
Okay. We're gonna have a lot to talk about. So let me go on to defining strategy. And here's where I'm going to be a bit of a disappointment. It's a difficult question to answer. What is strategy? There's several different schools of thought. Some kind of conflict with each other. So if you are doing a Google search or if you're the learner who actually gets a textbook, some of the business textbooks, there's an ongoing debate. What is strategy? And it's constantly evolving. So it's not explicit and static at this moment. So the definition I have adopted, because I think it provides the best opportunity to improve the business, is the definition provided by Michael Porter. He's a Harvard University professor. Some consider him the strategy guru. He goes all over the world talking about teaching about strategy. He has some very significant articles on strategy. And at the end of the day, in a nutshell, the best way to describe a strategy is the unique position you want to achieve within your industry. It is not the activities, it's not the actions, it's not the tasks that you would perform or the business would do to be better. It's looking at that external environment, the marketplace, the industry, and against all the competitors, picking a spot that is going to be a place where you can take advantage of your strength and defend that position from the rest of the competitors. So I have a quick little video here that I'm going to share with you of him speaking about it, so you just get a little bit more clarity, and then we're going to dive deep into it. All right? Give me 1 second here. It takes a second to get the YouTube set up properly. Okay. Please let me know if you have difficulty hearing. You should be hearing it okay.
If we're going to have a good strategy, we've got to think clearly about what strategy is.
Can everybody hear it? Can everybody see it? Are we
Yes,
good?
yes. Good.
Wonderful.
And we've got to separate strategy from the other kind of goals and objectives and issues that managers often think about. On this slide are really the big three mistakes in terms of defining strategy. Mistake number one, my strategy is to internationalize. I hear that kind of thing all the time. My strategy is to consolidate my industry. My strategy is to ramp up my R&D budget. My strategy is to outsource more of my production. Is that a strategy? No, those are steps that your organization may want to take. They may be good steps. They may be appropriate steps. They aren't a strategy. The strategy is what unique position will we be able to achieve? What's our advantage going to be at the end of the day as we take these steps cumulatively over time? That's the strategy part. The strategy part's about how are we going to be unique, how are we going to have an advantage, how are we going to sustain that advantage over time. The steps we take are not the strategy. But you'd be surprised how many companies get themselves fixated on a particular action that they want their organization to take, and that becomes the strategy. And of course, it then often drives the company literally off the cliff because they kind of don't understand why they're doing it and when they should stop doing it.
Okay, so let me just cut this off here and go back to the PowerPoint. So what does everybody think about that definition, his approach to strategy?
I can see points to it.
Okay, anybody else? Don't worry, I'll wait.
I agree. It's kind of like, what's the end goal? You know, what are you really trying to get at? How do you foresee your business to be? So I kind of agree with that. So
Well, it's not the end goal, right? Per se, because are you saying the goal in terms of being in a position, or is it goal in terms of an action accomplished?
I would more so say a position. So
Okay.
it kind of made me go back to it kind of made me go back and think about if I'm a passion creator or if I'm a freedom seeker. I think at the end of the day, when I think about it, I'm more of a legacy builder, because for me, I think I want to make sure my daughter is set, you know, when I leave this earth, so she's established. Does that make sense? So that's why I was like, when I think about it, I'm like, okay, this is the path that I'm actually trying to create for her.
Okay. I think I missed the last part you said. My system froze up just a little bit, so I think that was Miss Janet, correct?
Right. I said at the end of the day, it made me realize where I wanted to take my business, or you know, realize where I want to take things. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure my daughter is set. So I'm trying to make sure that whatever I create, she's pretty much in a position where she's, you know, taken care of and she can run the business afterwards. So when I think about strategy, I'm like, okay, that's my end goal. Like, you know, making sure she's in a position where she's set for life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I need to separate that. So that's a great goal for your business to have, but it's not your strategy. Okay. The strategy is you need to determine, and this is what the exercise we can go through today, is within the industry that your business operates, what is its unique position? That means that, you know, very few or nobody else has that position. And if I put a graphic up for those who are visual learners. So if you look at the number of, and every industry has a number of factors in which you compete upon. So I just put a very general one here for maybe a retail business. And so a couple of factors might be whether you're online or you have place-based actual storefronts. Another factor would be if you're affordable in your pricing or your luxury. And so these dots, the circle represents competitors and their size of the market share, right? And so what you have to determine is by the deep research you do with for your industry. And this is why we said last time, last Tuesday, I was saying, you have to know your business and you have to know your industry. You have to look for the areas that are open, because if this is the #1 competitor, let's say this is Walmart or Amazon, since it's on the online side of things, would it be beneficial for me, as I said, I just started a e-commerce site, would it be beneficial for me to compete directly against Amazon by doing exactly what they do, try to sell as many products and get it to people the next day? It would take me millions of dollars. But if I look at the industry and as a landscape, maybe that you're looking for the opportunity of who is not being served, that perhaps, yes, we do need online presence, and maybe it needs to be more affordable, or maybe you do need to have a luxury brand, but it has a retail focus and somehow integrates it online. You're looking for these empty spaces, and that's what the research will show you. And we'll describe it more a little later. But Ms. Jan, I just want you to be clear that the goal of the business, one of the long-term goals of the business, may be to be passed down to your daughter or sold and the profits are provided for her, whatever the case. But to get to that goal, you're going to need to determine a strategy so you can have a profitable business. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, because this is one of the difficulties of starting a business. You do have to separate it. Knowing it comes from you, you do have to separate it, because you've now birthed its own entity. So you have to think about its future and what do you need to do for its future, okay? So any questions on this graphic here? So when we say unique position, we're talking about trying to find some space, because we're just so good at just doing just that. And we find the customers who want that kind of product or service. We're trying to be, that's when we say different, unique. Other than that, you're just going to be like everybody else. That means you got to have a load of money to try to compete with a larger or more successful entity doing the exact same thing they do. Any questions, thoughts?
I do have a question. So would you say that the strategy is finding your niche, if you will, finding your area?
It might be one type of strategy. Niche is one way of going about it, having a niche market, right? But ultimately, you gotta get clear in your mind. And we're gonna go over some generic ones that you can pick from to get you started. And one of them does have a niche market kind of component. So it's that would be one example. But it's a little bit more. It's the position and the market. If I say niche market, I'm only talking about the market. But what is the major component that makes you different, so that you do attract the niche market? Okay. So
Ms. Walker, I'm sorry, this is Ms. Shipman.
Okay.
When you're talking about strategy, one of the things that at the beginning of my business, one of my clients asked me, because we do security and concierge service, and he says there's a lot of security companies out here. He said, what's separating you from them? And that just really made me think about my strategy. And so what we have done is, our strategy is to offer not just a body of a guard, we also offer customer service. So customer service is so important, and we also, our target market, because it's so much when it comes to security,
right,
we focus on hotel security and building security. But really, that just made me think about what you're talking about. He says, okay, what's going to make me, why are you different?
Right.
A lot of companies out here doing the same thing you're doing. You have to have a strategy. You have to have to set yourself apart. So
right. And you're gonna have to push that even further. So, and that's part of developing a strategy. Some of it's organic, but you got to get started by thinking about it. And you start with one component, and then it adds on for instance, the classic example, if I know some of you maybe have an MBA or undergrad in business or took other business training classes or something. One of the classic examples of strategy that even Michael Porter uses is Southwest, right? When Southwest started, there was the Delta, the Continental, I think British Airways, but there were large airlines operating at the time. And so they decided that they were going to operate out of the secondary airports, right? Not the major airports, secondary airports. And then they decided, okay, we're not going to serve food. Y'all remember these days? Y'all don't act like y'all didn't buy that $59 ticket because you needed to get to New Orleans. You were like, however I need to get there, I don't care. So they were like, we're not going to feed you. We're going to sing you a song, right? And we're going to smile. We're going to make it happy. We're not going to assign a seat. You just get there before we leave and you get on the plane, right? So it was a lot of things they decided not to do because that would make them just like everybody else, and all that stuff costs money. So these things they decided not to do reduced their costs. The other element that reduced their costs is they had one type of plane. If you fly Delta, you might be on a big jet to go here. You might be on a little jet to go. They had one type. Why? Because all the mechanics were trained on one plane. So that cuts training costs, that cuts, HR costs, because everybody know how to fix that one plane. And if I play into the secondary markets, it's not a crowded airport. I can turn around in 20 minutes. There's no, seating arrangement. I just get everybody on there, sing them a song, and we can take off, and you pay $59. So their strategy was to be the low-cost airline that flew to secondary markets or secondary airports, and they were the happy airline. That was their strategy, right? So tell me, who were their customers? Who was the market for Southwest?
Everyone.
Yeah, rarely is the answer.
People that had money.
So you might attract everybody. Who do you think their
Your
customers were?
families.
Lower income that
lower
didn't have a
income.
lot of discretionary funds.
Sort of, kind of, yeah. I see where you're going. You're on the right track. Very economic principle answer, yes. But anybody know what industry?
Entertainment.
No.
Going to concerts.
I like how you're thinking, though. So they stole customers from the bus line.
Oh.
Because you $59. If you're $59, I've been paying $89 on the bus. And so the bus ride gonna take me 8 hours. I can pay $59 on Southwest. I don't got to worry about a window seat. I just got to get there. And I'm not flying into O'Hara. I'm flying into Midway. I don't care. I'll call my, cousin Pookie gonna pick me up at Midway. Anyway, he could do that. So you see what I'm saying? So their market was that they pull people into the airline industry who were not being serviced by deciding to be a low-cost airline, and then deciding, this is the most critical portion of it, deciding not to do things everybody else in the industry was doing. And everybody tried to copy. Delta, Continental, and a couple other big airlines, and they all failed. Everybody discontinued that branch of their company. So that's what we mean when we say by strategy. And so what I want to highlight on this slide is that there are 3 concepts you need to think about when you start trying to determine what your business's strategy is. Number 1, you have to create a unique and valuable position. You can't just be unique just to be unique, okay? It has to deliver value to the customer. Southwest got you to New Orleans for $59 as they said they would. And they sang you a song and you ate the peanuts because you were just so happy you only paid $59 and everybody was friendly. That was the value proposition that was delivered every time, right? The other thing is making the trade-offs. deciding what not to do. This is why I was emphasizing so hard about the decision making, because it's really tempting to do what everybody else do, or try to do what everybody else does and try to just do it better. It's very, and some things you can do better, right? But that doesn't mean you have to do everything. So you really got to know your industry, your potential market, and you got to understand how your business sector operates to say, you know what, this is the usual, I'm not going to do that. Right? So that's the other thing. The last component is once you decide upon a strategy. Last time we talked a lot about building the systems of your business. You work on and you align the systems all to meet that strategy. Because you dedicate whatever limited resources you have to make that value proposition come true every single time that customer buys. So who owns the security company? I'm gonna use you as an example. You okay with that? I can't remember her name, but
B. Shipman.
yeah, Ms. Shipman. Okay. You mind if I use you as an example? Yay, nay.
She might be trying to unmute herself.
Oh, okay. She can tell me no if she doesn't want me. So, like, say I own the security firm, and she said one of her delineating a part of her uniqueness is the customer service. If customer service was part of one of the core components of the strategy, looking at the landscape, and everybody else gives okay customer service, and she says, I'm going to dive deep into the customer service element of security. That means she separates herself from the rest of them and all the systems that deal with customer service. So number one, HR, the learning and development and training of our employees. She's going to invest heavily so everybody knows the product. Everybody knows how to interact with the customer. Then she might invest heavily in, remember that one of the systems we talked about last time, communications and technology, because she might say, you know what? I don't ever want the customer to feel they can't get in touch with us. So she might invest heavily in the communication and technology. And then on top of that, invest heavily in the training of people to use the communication and technology to the best possible way. So not only she provide the security, but she has an outstanding, above the industry average, above what everybody else can do. She's like the Ritz-Carlton of security firms. See how she if you look at it like that, you start to separate yourself from the rest of the pack. And then everybody, once you get really good at it, because you have developed such capabilities, it's hard for everybody else to try to catch up. Okay. So that's what we mean when we say fit across the value chain. That means looking at your systems and making sure they fit in an alignment with what the strategy is. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So I just want to highlight one more thing. There is a concept called operational effectiveness. That means performing similar activities better than the other folks in your industry. Now, there may be some things you will try to do better than those in your industry. That is okay. So there's some level of just trying to be better in your operations, but that is not a substitute for having a strategy, meaning a strategic position, performing different activities from rivals or performing the similar activities in different ways. Okay. So because, for instance, in a highly regulated industry, you all have to get a business license. You all have to pay taxes. You all have to do some. So there are some things every business has to do. And so you may choose to figure out how you do those things just a little bit better, but they're not a substitute for just for having a strategy. And we see this all the time. If you look at our mailbox or our email box, companies are sending us promotional material, and they all use the same phrase, don't miss out, click here or something like this. Everybody's doing the same thing in the same way. And so you don't want to fall into the trap that's actually a strategy. All right. So I inserted this slide here as just like a visual representation that you can use to see, okay, am I on the right track? So we talked about last time that your business has a mission, purpose, and a vision. And so then once you have a strategy, that would be in alignment with that mission and vision. The strategy drives the value proposition. So it's the strategy that determines the benefit that you're offering to the customer. And it's that benefit is going to be a result of a competitive advantage. And the competitive advantage is a result of distinct capabilities or competencies that your systems are able to produce. So that makes you so much, not just better, but different from everybody else. And as a result, you're able to compete better than everybody else in your industry. And so as you work on these systems to develop these capabilities, you set goals, objectives, and tactics these are the activities. Oops, I'm sorry. These are the activities that you will perform in order to build the capabilities, to build the systems that make you competitive, that make you different, to offer value to the customer, to fulfill your strategic position and achieve the mission. So this is how this all works together. And once you have brief statements describing each of these, you can line them up and say, do they even make sense with each other? And so this is going to be a useful tool you can use later. Okay. So before we go into describing some generic strategies you might want to choose, any questions, thoughts, feedback? Where's your head at getting all that kind of information? Any thoughts? No?
I was gonna say, well, I was typing in the chat, but it sounds like a really good idea to kind of slow down and think about these things before you, or while you're starting your business, and not always be so hasty, so that you can put yourself in the best position to have a good share of that marketplace.
Right. Excellent point. And you don't have to spend, months upon months doing this. There used to be a time that a strategic plan or a business plan took months, a year to develop. That's no longer the case. You can knock out a really decent business plan for your business in about a month and have a good working framework of your strategy that you're going to develop over time. Okay? So you don't put pressure on yourself to think you need to digest all of this right now. And this is going to take forever to do. That's not the case, because you're in a dynamic environment. If you spend all your time just planning, you'll never launch the business. So you bring up a great point. Anybody else? Okay.
It looks like there was a question. What are some ways to look at gaps in the industry?
What are some ways? Okay. We get to that a little bit later. So if you can hold on to that, we get to that in just a couple more slides, right? So here are a couple very generic strategies you can use to start thinking about what would be the best fit for your business, okay? And these are Michael Porter's, again, the same guy we listened to. This is what he came up with. So let me just go through these really quickly, and then we'll go into the external and internal analysis. So the generic strategy is based upon three major areas. So it's either cost leadership. So you're going to be, you're going to work on the cost of running the business, differentiation, and focus. And you notice on this axis, we're talking about the size of the market. So it's either going to be cost, being different, or focus, but there's a size of the market that influences. So this is who you're trying to go after as the target audience. So one generic strategy to cost leadership is a low cost. So this is the Southwest example, right? So here you're going after low cost, but you're going after a very large target market. And that's because you're standardizing all your products in such a way that you can easily produce them at a lower cost, but up to a larger group of people. Type 2 is cost leadership with best value. So here you're having a low cost and you're pricing to match the value, the benefit you think you're going to deliver to the client, but you're still going after a very large market. The key here is, are you going to be low cost? Because this is the crust of it. And so if you're going to do that, that means you're competing on price. So it means another competitor, if they're able to get their costs down and offer your customers the same low price, then you're going to have more competition. So this you can do, particularly when you're small, but it's a challenge. Okay, I'm just going to flip slides here because I have a more detailed definition here. So on the differentiation, which is type 3, so your products and services are considered unique for the industry, but look at the consumers. They are price insensitive. What does price insensitive mean to you?
It doesn't matter what the cost is, they'll pay it.
Right.
Big deal.
Right. So they're less likely to be like, oh, I need this to be a lower price for me to consider it. You know, they're more concerned about, oh, what's the quality of the product? What is it? What's the aesthetic? What does it look like? What does it feel like? That's a way, but it has to be unique. So in this strategy, the business is going to spend a lot of time, energy, and resources building up capabilities so the product is unique and stands alone against the rest of the products in the industry. But if you look at the focus, it's a slight variation. Here, the core concept to remember with a focus strategy is you're going after smaller groups of consumers. And this is a little tricky because it's very enticing to try to be over in this box over here, to go over a wide market to hundreds of thousands of potential customers. Here, you might be looking at smaller groups, but you have to know the groups. Is it a certain age range? Is it a certain gender? Is it a certain personality type, or whatever the case may be? So you're looking at smaller groups. Type 4 focus is that you go for a low cost, but that small group of customer, they're going to look for the lowest price available. So there is where we're talking about the niche group. And niche, a lot of companies have become profitable all looking for these niche groups, but you have to know your market and your customers very, very well. And then the last type that you can consider is type 5, in which there is a best value focus strategy, in which they offers products and services to a small range of customers at the best price value available. So as you consider your strategy, you have to think about overall, what are the operating costs of your business? And then what kind of products am I making? Is the product going to be different and unique? Or is it the market I'm going after going to be small and segmented and unique? Or am I going for cost, where I'm driving down my cost so low that I can offer the product at a value that a larger group of people would want to buy the product? Okay. So this is more like cost leadership is definitely what Walmart did. And part of their strategies, they became an inventory management company. So everything they did was about maximizing inventory control. So that kept their unit costs so low. So they only stocked in the shelves what they knew they were going to sell. As soon as they were, going to run out, they had a system that could detect number of products on the shelf. So it ordered to their manufacturers or vendors in a certain way that it'll be delivered just in time. And that allowed them to keep their costs low, and they're able to sell to a large number of people because they kept that unit cost so low. But this is hard to do because you're fighting on price, whereas Target took a slightly different way because they consider more unique products along with the more common goes that might have some similar pricing strategy as the cost leadership. So there's a lot you can do here, but these are just 5 generic strategies, right? As you get to know your business and your industry better, you will get more sophisticated in describing which one of these your company is using. So let's go into how do we go about choosing the strategy out of the generic version. Any questions so far? I see the chat box is going off. Monica, does anybody have a question?
No question. That's people coming in and out.
Oh, okay. All right. So here we go. To be on the road to development strategy, which is, it's hard to do. It's not an overnight. It's not a perfect process. I broke it down into 3 basic steps. So number 1, you want to assess your market and industry. So you're going to do an external analysis, and you're going to do an internal analysis where you're going to assess the systems of the business. And then you're just simply going to make some decisions based upon how that information falls out. So when you're looking at your industry and your market, you want to ask yourself, what are the factors that your industry uses to compete? Number 2, who are your direct and indirect customers or competitors? I'm sorry. When I say direct competitors, those are folks who are doing exactly what you're doing. Indirect are those that are doing something similar, but they may not be doing the exact same types of products and services that you offer. Okay. So here is a tool you can use to evaluate your external environment. And we're going to use what is called the external factor evaluation. And it's part of the SWOT analysis. A lot of people do the SWOT analysis incompletely. And so I'm going to walk you through it so you'll know how to do it the right way. And here is where you identify the potential opportunities and threats, but you're going to rank them by importance. So this is where it takes a little bit of time and thought to think about what is really important to your business. So here are some external factors you're going to look for. Number 1, I always look for economics. So right now, the issue in the business world is not this, we have a pandemic, it's the impact of the pandemic on the economics of the business. So here you want to look at, labor market trends, are, what's the employment rate like, how many new businesses are coming into the city, or how many businesses are closing. So these are big factors you want to look at. And there's a lot of data you can get from the Federal Reserve and the Census Bureau on economics. DC government, DC Office of Planning also offers a lot of great information on DC's economic statistics. The other factors you want to look at is social, cultural, demographic, and natural environment. So here you're actually going to be thinking about the actual people, the culture those people, and then how they interact with each other, and then how they interact with the natural environment, the actual physical environment. You'll be surprised the natural environment plays a big part on how our businesses operate. The unfortunate events that's happening in Florida right now with a building suddenly collapsing, you can guarantee there'll be changes in the law and the requirements of how you are going to build any building, regardless if it's residential or commercial, and that cost will be passed on to you if you're a business owner. Culture is huge in terms of how people choose and select and determine products and services, so never underestimate culture. Political, government, and legal. So these are all the laws and regulations you have to follow. There also, you have to consider what's the political movement and thought about small businesses, because any one of these can enact a law or regulation that will put more constraints on your business, or it may create opportunities. So you have to be aware of the changing environment of the compliance that your business has to follow. I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong button. Okay. Next is technology. Before the pandemic, this was probably a top 10 concern for me. Post pandemic or in the pandemic, this is probably number 1 or 2 of the issues you need to wrap your head around, because customers have a different expectation of what they should get from a business based on technology. Everybody expects a website at minimum. Everybody expects that they have an email to contact you. Everybody expects that I should be able to look at you at some social media account. Everybody expects that you should be able to have a virtual meeting if that's an option. Everybody expects some online transaction can occur. Can I pay my bill online? Can I order online? Yeah, so there's a different expectation now as a result of the pandemic regarding the technology requirements you need for your business. And then there's just pure competition. If you look at the Census Bureau, if you go to census.gov, you can find out the number of businesses in the city, in a jurisdiction, a state. I think it even goes down to zip code, that are in the same industry as you. And so that would be the first place I would start, because you need to know how many people are offering the same thing that you're offering. So if you're a photographer, you're a realtor, I heard a couple of people say they're childcare providers or whatever. You need to look at how many businesses are classified in the same business that you're in. The other source you can look at is industry association. I highly recommend you join your industry association. There's one for every profession and industry and business type. I guarantee it. They often have reports on the industry and how businesses are growing, what are the impacts, etc. So you definitely should.
Can you repeat what you said before, please?
And which part is that? I'm sorry, because I can't see you how Zoom is set up. Just let me see. Who had the question?
Imani.
It was me, but I didn't remember what you said. I was just trying to write it down first before I forgot.
Okay. Regarding the industry associations or the census.
Just came out with it. I think it was the industry associations.
Right. So every business type has an industry association that represents them. And so luckily we're in DC. So many of them are either headquartered here or have a significant chapter presence here. So simple Google search and you will find them. And some business industries have more than one association, but you should definitely look it up. What's your business type? What's your industry? It should go back on.
Were you asking me?
Yes.
I'm going into fashion design.
Okay. So you would probably need to look at not only just fashion designers, you would have to look at all the retail outlets, because major retail operations have their own private lines. So they might work separately from a designer, and so they might have their own units for that. So you need to look at independent folks as well as the larger corporate design entities, as well as retailers that also have a design shop. So those are the 3 areas I'll probably start off with for your kind of business. So why is this important? Because here's the critical thing. Each of these factors, as they change the consumer demand for products and services. If there's an economic downturn like we are in now, the consumer tends to spend only on things that they absolutely need. And what your needs are varies based upon the socioeconomic status. So if I'm making, if I have a net worth, of an X amount of millions of dollars, what my need might be will be different from somebody who makes maybe $100,000 a year. And my needs might also vary based on the area of the country I am. So for DC, you need to be very mindful of the economics of the 4 quadrants, the social, cultural, and demographics of the 4 quadrants, the political government of the 4 quadrants, because we have political entities at the neighborhood level, And so those will be critical for the DC area for you guys. So just think about it like that. So every external force, if there's a change, it changes the customer's buying habits. No matter how in love they are with you, if any of these are detrimental to them, it will impact how they will buy products and services. So you have to know when you need to adapt to that. Okay. So I'm going to run through an example. So you have everything laid out for you. And just so to give proper recognition, this is from a textbook called Strategic Management Concepts. You can Google this textbook. There are multiple editions. Some of the older editions are available for free online. And the example is pretty much the same. So you can read some of the older editions and still get the same information. Okay. So this is what an external factor evaluation looks like. And so here you as you look at your industry, you identify the major factors that impact your industry, and you're going to divide them into opportunities and threats. Okay, so some are going to be good for your business and some are going to be bad for your business. And then you have to do a little bit of calculation, but so don't shy away from the calculations that really will help you out. You're going to assign a weight, meaning you're going to rank them from 0 to 0.1, so basically 0 to 1, in terms of order of importance to your business. And then you're going to rate how your business is responding to that factor. And for many of you, you're starting out, you might not be responding very well, and that's okay. The thing is, you're going to be doing this regularly, you're going to improve your score. And so you from 0 to 1 is your weight, then you assign your rating, which is either going to be a 1 to a 4, and then there's a multiplication to get a score, and at the end there's a tally. Now, luckily for you, I have an Excel spreadsheet where this is all pre-programmed. So all you have to do is just type in the factor that influences your business. And you want to be as detailed as possible. So you want to have some quantitative information in there. So if you look at this example for this, I think it's a movie theater. One of the opportunities where there are 2 new neighborhoods developing within 3 miles. So that's a great opportunity as potential new customers. They had a threat here saying there's a trend towards healthy eating, which might impact their concession sales. So that was something they did. They found that in the research of their market. So you'll have your opportunities, your threats, you assign a weight and a rating, and you're going to get a score. This score tells you how well you're taking advantage of your opportunities. If you are below a 2.5, that means that you have more threats to your business than you are taking advantage of opportunities. So this analysis tells you how well is your business, as you as the entrepreneur, taking advantage of an opportunity. Okay. So similarly to the external analysis, you're going to do the same thing for the internal. The only difference is the internal, you're talking about inside your business. So all of those systems we talked about, you're going to say, what are your strengths and weaknesses in marketing, customer engagement, technology, communication, finance, and account. All those systems, you're going to say, how well am I building these systems? And then you're going to weight and rate them the same way. You're going to come up with a score. A score below 2.5 means you are weak internally. So you have a lot to do inside the organization in order to take advantage of the external environment. Okay. And this is where it all comes together. Now, any questions before I go to this part? Because I want to end on time. How are we feeling? Are you feeling panicky?
Can you share the book again? I was trying to write it down as fast as I can. Thank you.
Oh, you're gonna get these slides probably late or by tomorrow morning or early tomorrow morning or even tonight. So I'll go back though.
Thank you.
Strategic concepts, Fred David. That's what you look at. Strategic management concepts, Fred David. If you put that in Google, it'll pop up. And I do that because some of you as learners like to read the entire chapter. So I put it there. I'll also put into the documents a much bigger, clearer version of all this information. So here's where the SWOT becomes very helpful for you to determine what do you need to do for your business. So once you have your opportunities and threats, again, I have a spreadsheet that this is all worked out. You just copy and paste your strengths and weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. And you go one quadrant at a time. So you take your strengths and opportunities. There's an author error right here. So this is the strength, opportunity, strategic actions. So you look at your strengths and you say, which strengths can I use to take advantage of the opportunities? And you write down all of the ideas that you think you can do. Okay. So for this business, this was a retail computer business. They said they wanted to add in new in-store promotions on a monthly basis because they tried it earlier and sales went up by 20%. So that was a strength for them. And they saw that the population in the city was growing and there were a lot of vehicular traffic. So they felt if I could just do more promotions, I'd get more people in. So these are only just your ideas. And then you do the same thing for weakness and opportunity. So what you're trying to do here is say, what opportunities do you and what weaknesses do you want to minimize, but take advantage of the opportunity at the same time? Okay. This is a little tricky one because a lot of us don't like to think about our weaknesses, but you have to. Okay. The third quadrant you start to think about is the strengths, threats, strategies, or strategic actions, I call them. Is you take your strengths and you say, which strengths can I use to overcome any threats? So for this store, there was a Best Buy that was going to open next year. So they're saying they need to hire more people to offer a better service to compete with Best Buy. And then the last quadrant is your weakness, threat, strategies. This is the one I like to pay attention to. A lot of people like to pay attention to the strength opportunities because that's the fun part, to think of all the great stuff you can do. The weakness, threat, you want to make sure that there is not a threat in the external environment that can possibly have a detrimental impact on your business. So you don't want your weakness to come up against your threat. So you want to make sure you note that. So if there is something you can do, you want to try to see if you can do it. Here's the thing. Not everything is in your control because a lot of things in the external environment are out of your control. So after you fill these out, these are only options. You haven't made a decision yet. You're just coming up with potential options. Then you sit down and you have all this information together. And then you say, okay, what's my purpose, mission, and vision? You look at the industry data and you look at the opportunities and threats, and you decide which of these strategies best fits your business. Taking the mission, vision, and purpose, looking at all the factors of the industry, which of the strategy do you think best fits your business? Then you look at your strengths and weaknesses, and then you ask yourself, are any of the strengths so strong that they are distinct and unique? That's something you can use and build upon to make you different. Okay. And if there isn't any, you then ask yourself, which strengths do we need to develop to be different and unique? And then lastly, you review all those strategic options that came up during the SWOT and ask yourself, which of these actions do I need to perform that are going to help me reach one of the generic strategy I have chosen for my business? Okay. So at the end, you have an alignment of your mission and vision. You have a basic strategy with a basic idea of the market. You have your unique, distinct competency that you know that your business has or that you need to develop. And then you have the actions your business needs to carry out to build the competencies to reach that strategy. And if you do this on a regular cycle in your business planning cycle, every 6 months, every year, updating it, you constantly refine your strategy, making sure you're building the right competencies and making sure you're accomplishing the actions to achieve the strategy. This is not easy. It's not concrete. It is your best guess. I know that's hard to swallow, but that's what it is. And that's how you go upon developing your strategy for your business. And then it starts to build upon itself. Okay. Any questions there? How does that sound to everybody? I know I ran through it rather quickly, but we could talk about it one-on-one. But I just want to make sure I got through that.
Complicated.
Welcome to business. And like I said, this is some of this stuff I know sounds very academic. But here's the thing. Mostly a lot of business leaders in a very expensive business training, MBA programs, or those who did maybe a business degree, and maybe some other avenues, they would get taught this. Most small business owners don't do this. Some people do this innately, you know, they just got that entrepreneurial mindset, but they never write it down. And so that's another issue altogether. And so you might do fine for a while. You're profitable, but you won't even recognize you're just like everybody else. And there just so happens to be enough demand that people are buying from you. When you hit the hard times, when the customers drop off for whatever reason, if you don't have this system, you won't know what to do. So if you take the time now, even if you're not, you know, you won't be perfect. It doesn't have to be written out in any fancy format. These could all just be bullet points and it's all for you. It's for inside your company. You don't necessarily share this with the public. But if you don't do this in the long run, you will not be as profitable as you could be. That's just the bottom line. Okay. A lot of people like to work in the business and not on the business. This is working on the business, the unsexy, tiresome, boring stuff that people don't want to do. You want to do the exciting. Oh, let me get my brochure. Here's my business card. You like to do that, right? Here's my business card. We got CEO on it. This be the founder, you know, and we picked out a little logo for it. That's the exciting stuff. But when you hand out that business card, what that business card looks like, where do you go to get to hand out that business is all dictated by the strategy. Because here's the other thing. You don't have infinite amount of money to do everything. So you have to be laser focused, and strategy allows you to do that. But good point though, I understand. So I just put this here as just as a reminder, as you make your decisions and just jot down your notes, you can just kind of see, is everything lining up? Are my systems being built to match the strategy? Am I wasting time on buying new office equipment? Because that new laptop look real nice. You know, that's going to look real slick when I go to the meeting because it's got the look, when I really should be spending that money on making sure I have my professional memberships. And that's added to the website that we are connected with all the industry standards and what have you. So these are the decisions you have to make. Okay. All right. I'm a few minutes behind schedule. Is everybody okay if I take another 10 minutes to go over branding? Okay. I got one okay. Anybody else?
They're saying yes in the chat.
Okay, so I'll
Yeah.
go for it. All right, there we go. So we're gonna close with marketing and branding because I wanted you to make sure that there's a difference, because once you have your strategy now, you got to go to work. So remember, we had marketing as and branding as one of the systems. Okay, so this is how we think about it. This is the definition of marketing from the American Marketing Association. It is the activity, set of institutions, that means business units, business components, whatever, and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customer, clients, partners, and society at large. Let's take a clear look at that, okay? Be clear. Marketing is not the brochure, okay? It's not the website. It's the totality of all the activities for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging the value to the customer, clients, partners, and the general community. Okay, so it's much broader than just advertising. That's just the action that you're going to do under your marketing plan. Okay, so here's how you think about your marketing on a pure basic. You can always do more, but just bare bones basic. When you start thinking about your marketing system, knowing that it is the total communication, all the activities around connecting with the customer, partners, vendors, etc., you got to think about your product, place, price, and promotion. Call the 4 P's. Very classic framework, so it's easy to look this up. So you got to think about your product and making sure it fulfills a customer need, and it has to be compelling, that the customer believes that they got to have it. Okay? Price. You got to price the product that equals the perceived value of the product. Okay? The perceived value. So for instance, Toyota and Mercedes both make cars, but they make cars in 2 different price range. Why? Because Mercedes says we are the originators of the automobile, and we've been doing this 150 years. That's 150 years of engineering and craftsmanship. Yes, we're going to start off at 50K and go to 200K or whatever the case. Toyota was founded to provide a car for the everyday person. So you don't need the 150 years to get a good solid car with Toyota. So they have a totally different price point because they're providing 2 different types of value. When you buy a Mercedes, you're buying the heritage, the history, the prestige, and everything else. You buy a Toyota, you're still buying quality, but you're buying a level of practicality, some stylishness, but it's not at the level of Mercedes. I hope that makes sense for you. But price is critically important. Okay. Place. This is where, how are you going to reach your customers? You got to be in front of your customer. This is actually physically and now digital. It's how do you get in front of your customers, and it's how you deliver your product to your customer. And lastly, promotion. This is all of the advertising, both paid and non-paid, that you're going to do to reach the customer. So all your marketing efforts are going to have elements of talking about the product. It's going to emphasize the price, value, benefit mix. It's going to be delivered to a certain place to get in front of your customer and to deliver the actual product. And you're going to use mechanisms that will actually reach the target market. So when you start on your marketing, you want to start by writing out these 4 things. Okay. And then you assign a budget. All right. Questions about marketing? So if marketing is all of the activities, we cannot confuse that with the brand and branding. The brand is how people perceive your business. Okay, because people, when they visit your website, touch your material, see your packaging, they're gonna feel a certain way. So you want to make sure your brand is in alignment with your strategy. Okay, so the brand is almost entirely the result of how your audience feels when they come across your business. So think about how you feel about when you get an email or visit the website of your favorite store. Like I used to be a sneakerhead, right? I was a faithful Nike shoe buyer. Couldn't tell me nothing, all right? I could stay at Nike. When Nike Town first opened in Chicago, I thought I went to heaven. I thought I died and went to heaven. Because how they make me feel. And so that is your job with the brand. Your strategy is the position, because you're delivering value, and it's that value you deliver to your customer. It makes them feel a certain way. So the brand represents that. So you keep reinforcing the feeling so that it's always positive. And every time they think of that type of product, they automatically think of your business because of the brand. So if that's brand, the branding is all the activities to support the brand, to build the brand, so that customers have that kind of recognition of your business. So one thing I want to emphasize here is that to help you out, there are 12 brand types. They're called archetypes or personalities. So you can use these 12 personalities, say, which of these personalities fit your business? Now, here's the kicker. We're not talking about you. It's the personality of the business. Okay, so I'm going to go through the personality types really quickly. So one, you have the innocent. They're all about simplicity, authentic, but there's a strong emphasis on moral values. You have the sage. So they're all about truth, knowledge, and wisdom. So a lot of universities have sage brands because they're all about sharing information, because that's what makes them tick. You have the explorer. So they're all about taking on new challenges, discovering new things. It doesn't have to be with nature, but many times it is about getting out into nature. You have the rebel. They break all the rules. So this is why Harley Davidson is the classic rebel brand. You have the magician, and they're all about transformational experiences. So they make you feel like things are magical when you interact with their products. So the classic example is Disney, right? You go to Disney World, you just can't believe they just created a whole world that's after a rat. Real talk. I mean, Mickey Mouse is a rat, but Disney makes billions of dollars off of a rat, but that's what it is. Then there's the hero brand. It's all about courage and inspiration and taking on the world to make it a better place. And then there's the lover. It's all about relationships between people. It's a lot about aesthetics. So a lot of beauty and cosmetic brands tend to fall in the lover category. There's the jester, who's all about having fun, living life. Don't take themselves too seriously. So this is the razor. What is this guy's name? There's a brand of razors in which their commercials are hilarious because they just don't take it seriously, because it's just all about razors. There's the every man, every woman, because they simply want to belong. So they try to embody just the everyday person. The caregiver is selfless, and they have the desire to literally care for others. So that would be like your Johnson & Johnson's, a lot of healthcare companies, they fall in this category. There's the ruler, who thinks they know everything. So they're all about being powerful. And then lastly, you have the creator. So here you're trying to tap into the imagination. You have innovation and creativity. So everything is about being different and coming up with something new. So I will end on this question tonight, just in that rough introductory. Where do you think your brand is for your business right now, even though you're still working on it? We know that. Where do you think your brand, where do you think, if you had to pick one, what's your brand personality?
Creator.
Creator, okay, good. Is that because you're a creator, or will the business be creative?
The business itself will be creative.
Okay. Okay, just want to make sure that's clear, because it's the personality of the business and not your personality. Okay, good one. Anybody else?
Can you go back to the other slide, please?
Yeah, I'll go to.
Oh, there it
I have a
is.
slide with this one.
The one with number 1 on it. 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
So the-
innocent.
Yes.
Okay. There we go.
I'm going to say number 9 for me.
Number 9. Every man, every woman. Okay. So you out for to help the ordinary person fit in just like them.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I know I'm putting you guys on the spot, but this is just to illustrate that once you think about your strategy, you want to build the competencies to achieve that strategy. And then part of when as you reach out to your potential customer group, you're gonna use marketing. You're gonna think about product placement, pricing, and promotion. And on top of that, you're gonna make sure your brand is aligned, because you want them to feel a certain way about that product service that comes from you. And I put in some additional materials so you'll know how you express your brand. And I'll put up some resources about how, because each personality has colors associated with it. So that'll help you in framing what the look and feel of everything is like. So I'll post that later. But at the end of the day, strategy is hard. Development takes time. You've got to understand the internal and external. Marketing and branding are not the same, and your marketing and branding should support this the strategy. So we covered a lot today. You took it all in like a champ. I'm gonna let it marinate because we don't meet till next week. So I'll leave some time on next week's Tuesday session to open up with any questions, comments. You can feel free to email me over the weekend, but we'll start the discussion by kind of going over what we're going to, your thoughts from today. But anybody has any closeout thoughts before we leave, please, you're welcome to take the floor. I'll stop sharing
Just
now.
want to say thank you. Good information so far.
I know it's a lot, but Congress Heights, we got you. We're going to, by the end of this summer, everybody's going to be where they need to be. You're going to do your one-on-ones. We're going to wrap it up. You're going to have a nice little framework for yourself. Just don't forget me when y'all become famous. That's all. Because I will embarrass you and be like, you don't remember me for real? And that's how we're going to do it. Because that's the goal, right? Somebody out of this group has to get on that list. Remember the women-owned business in the DC area? We made a pact. Somebody on this group got to get on that list. Okay. Well, Monica, that's all I have. Thank you for the extra time. But I'll hang on if anybody has questions.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Once again, we will send out the video link sometime tomorrow, as well as the PowerPoint slide. I've dropped the link to the book in the chat. I dropped the SWOT, the strategic SWOT analysis, I think. Was it
Yeah, it's the
SWOT?
one pager, so you can see.
One
it better,
pager.
Yeah.
And I dropped in the PowerPoint from yesterday in the chat, and I also dropped in the link to yesterday's video. The link to the video is on YouTube, so Destination Congress Heights is the channel, and you can find even the first boot camp that Dr. Walker did a few months ago is on there, and yes, Tuesday's session 1, Women in Business, is on there as well. But we'll be sure to send them all out again. And if you
Thanks
have any
to our
questions, be sure to reach
sponsors.
out. Say that again.
Just a quick thank you to the sponsors, DC Small Business Development
Yes.
and the DC Community Housing Development. So this is all being brought to you by your DC government. So,
Local government, yes.
so shout out to them.
And also send the invite, pass the invite on to other women in the district. And thanks to our one male that attended, Mr. Fred. Thank you so much, Mr. Fred. We enjoyed you.
Are you gonna come back, Mr. Fred, next week?
You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be back here, and I thank you so much for allowing me to participate. It's a wonderful program.
Thanks.
Okay, and for my sister, HU, you know.
Right.
Excuse me, I
Have a
had a
good
question.
weekend, everyone, and stay safe.
Someone has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, did I have to sign up for next week's events too, or do I just get a link again, or no?
If you've already registered, you should get a link.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Have a
welcome.
good evening.
You too.
Thanks, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you,
a
guys.
great evening.